Okay, I am going to make a video and talk a little bit about poker and the nature of reality and life and whatnot. I thought I might do a podcast, but I think that actually playing at the same time, it can be like slightly interesting in some ways. Um, we can talk about river decisions and some of the math and I mean, the game is very, very, very complex. I must say this. This is important uh, to be aware that the game is there's very little that can be said about poker. The totality of knowledge, like every single word that can be said about poker, is always going to be perceived through whoever is listening, and that perceiver can only understand up to their level. And it's not like there's like a level as in like a black or white, like where you have the capacity of comparing your level with another person. Of course, that's not the case because we don't have direct access to anybody else's brain. So no comparison is actually possible. This is just like the nature of reality. We can never directly know what anybody thinks. And like looking at a lot of the fundamental assumptions and looking at a lot of the ways in which we play poker, looking at a lot of the ways and a lot of the reasons why we make our decisions. This is very, very important. Essentially, there's like a punishing mechanism which exists in the human brain, which the majority of human beings seem to be identified with. Maybe not everybody, but we may have some friends that we see that are that say, "Why would you call the turn and then fold the river?" You see, but like there's like this presupposition that that has any sort of meaning, but this doesn't have any meaning. So we have to kind of differentiate like what actually is real and what doesn't really have very much meaning. First of all the meaning in the game is always self-created in terms of our decisions and then our perception for why something is high EV. We may have some pictorial thought and some remembrance that we watched one time on a Run It Once video. Some guy said this, or when we were using PioSolver, it said that, so therefore we can do whatever we want. But this is not real. These are just thoughts that are arising in consciousness. This is not. Very often, man believes his own thoughts, and this is kind of one of the reasons why we have. I'm going to top up 1 second. It's one of the reasons why we have a world where people are like killing each other. You must buy in with the initial minimum amount. Okay, fuck off. I don't even know how playing 25 big blinds is with this ante. I've never played it before. I just was a little bit bored and I thought I'd make a video and whatnot. So there's a lot of poker knowledge out there. First of all, so right now, what's happening? So there may be a bunch of thoughts arising about poker and ideas and whatever, but currently there is a perceiver. I would say you, perceiver. Okay. There's me, talker. And then there's the model of the world that we have. And we always kind of, I don't want to say we always, but I would say that man, and then when I say man, just assume a friend that you might be able to relate to, or someone that you know, or someone that you've seen. It's very easy to think about it in these terms, thinking about someone that we know and someone that it can kind of relate to, who may have a great amount of certainty about this was the right play. First of all, there's no possibility of knowing what a right versus a wrong play is, because these things don't exist. Poker is a game. The only thing that exists is like a deck of cards, okay, in existential reality. And then maybe we have some chips as well. And then everything else is a set of agreements that we make. So we say that these are the rules, and we agree upon that we're going to give each player 2 cards in this order. And then, like, these things are kind of obvious, right? But these things are not, these are like, we can know that these things are true. Because we can see the chips on the table, and we can see, okay, I know that I have a 2 in my hand. But something like, I know that 3-betting this hand is better than doing something else. We cannot know that. And I want to give a very, very big example here, because it should cut through a lot of bullshit of this illusion of knowledge that man has. But fortunately, we as poker players, or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, I think it's a very big blessing, because we actually have to question ourselves. The ego of man, which is essentially the mechanism that does not want to see its own irrationality, because it becomes very painful to the self-image. Essentially, if I go and I say that I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just clicking buttons, then there's a belief, well, I need to change that, I need to be better, I need to improve, I need to get something more. Looking at kind of our own intentions for why we even play the game is very relevant. Obviously, there's no like one answer that we can give, and no words are going to give you anything. Words might be some sort of a pointer to a feeling or an emotion or an idea or collection of ideas as to why we might think about those things, but intention is very important. Am I playing poker because I want my mom to tell me that I'm a good person and I don't want her to be mean to me and tell me that I'm a gambling addict or that I can't get a job and that I'm a loser? Yes, that's a fact. So that's not something to deny. That's the way that I feel. Those are one of the ideas that arise within me. Another one of the ideas that arise within me is that when I was a child and when I was bullied and when I didn't feel good enough, I felt that I would never be able to get a job. I felt like I would never be able to accomplish something. And I wanted to be better than other people because I didn't feel good enough. And this is one of the very large unconscious mechanisms which, say, runs my like poker game. Of course, I never want to admit this. Oh, I was never bullied. I'm so fucking perfect. Oh, blah, blah. You know, of course, like this kind of like self-referential, I am this kind of person. This is my identity. These are my beliefs. Of course, I don't want to like look at myself because it's very painful to look at the aspects of myself that I don't want other people to be able to perceive. Extraordinarily painful to this sense of self. Now, what is painful? What does pain even mean? That's a very, very important thing to define because the game of poker is a very emotional game. And many people that are very repressed and very intellectual, they think that they can bypass this fact. No, they're just unconscious of the fact. And I'm not saying, and actually that's not necessarily the case. It's not like this is true or false because each person that's playing has their own kind of brain. And they are playing in their own operating system. It's not like poker exists as some objective thing that you can know out there in the world. Of course not. Poker is a concept. Poker is an idea that exists within the human brain. Now, again, and we can say that the rules of poker are a collection of agreements about how we play, and then say the theory is... I don't know what the theory is. I don't know exactly how I would define the theory, but... That makes me feel kind of ignorant because I've studied game theory for a couple of years, but I don't actually have and not like PioSolver, like actually studying game theory and trying to understand the meaning of these things. But I don't have a sort of cookie cutter definition that I can give because I don't even think that, like, I'd rather kind of lay out a framework for certain things to be true before I even go into the meaning of those things. But essentially, the mind may be identified with GTO versus this. No, these things are not real. Okay, there's no this versus that. The brain in the separated unconscious state, which is ordinary humanity, but certainly we poker players cannot live like that. We can certainly make money in that state of consciousness. Absolutely. Because everybody else is in that. And if we study more than I'm sure, we can be robots. But it's not like the freedom to realize like where the EV is coming from. First of all, it's not knowable, but we can like imagine, and then we can have like levels of certainty. And those levels of certainty are always self-created. So it's not like we're just believing in our own thoughts. So then there's this emotional system that kind of enjoys having a greater level of certainty. But this doesn't actually have anything to do with reality or EV. All reality is imagined except for what's physically in front of us. So if we cannot taste it, touch it, smell it, hear it, see it, it's not real. It's our imagination. It doesn't mean that it is not real somewhere else, but that somewhere else is still a projection of our own mind. So this is very important that we kind of are aware that the brain's capacity to imagine and then forget certain things that are imagined, it often does this, and it's beautiful, right? Because we go and we see a sofa, and we automatically understand without a thought that arises that said, this is a sofa. I can sit here. We don't need a thought that comes that says that. Not at all, because we unconsciously know what this is. Or you can say subconsciously, if it is painful to hear unconscious, we can use the word subconscious. But in fact, actually watching some pain as well arise from that can be a very interesting thing. Of course, I think it's just me that says that. When I say unconscious, it hurts my feelings because I want to think of myself as a very good, noble, virtuous, intelligent person, and I want to be perceived by other people that way. That's absolutely the most important thing to me. And I may tell other people that's not the case, And I may be very, very, very happy and thrilled to talk about poker knowledge and try to make myself perceived as someone that is knowledgeable. But the problem with that is that poker is basically a game where like no politics work. You convincing someone that you're good makes absolutely no difference in reality to your EV. I mean, certainly, we can go a little bit deeper and say like, okay, you prove that you're so good, and then you can get into a staking opportunity and then you can win. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about our perception of our own knowledge and our ability to manipulate, say, language in order to convince ourselves that we understand something, and that therefore translating into more dollars at the poker table. Yes, absolutely, it's possible, but I don't mean in these other, scenarios where, let me think about this 3's hand. Okay. I need to think about this hand a little bit. Sorry, 1 second. I apologize. I probably should just fold it anyways and continue talking because that's more fun. But for instance, we'll see 3's here and someone will say this is correct or that's correct. No, you can basically do whatever the fuck you want. The EVs here are so similar. It's not like you're just going to do whatever you want. It's like, what does the meaning of even making a decision here mean? Where does EV come from? The brain always wants to start with one hand. There's no such thing as one hand. It's very easy to say, what's the goal? We're just going to make money. Black or white, one thing. And then, what's the correct decision right now? Like, for instance, in rock, paper, scissors. If you think that if you're going to be playing a game with one person, one single time, and you think that this guy throws more rock, unless you're thinking that because of the fact, say, you're going to throw paper or you're going to throw scissors and lose to this guy this time, and it's going to reconfirm his idea that you have scissors and that's why he's throwing rock, and next time you're going to throw a bet for 20x or 10x and you're going to get way more money. Unless you're thinking in these particular terms, which is certainly not useful and very delusional if you're actually trying to get better at poker and actually getting better at how the game works, not just fantasizing about things that don't really mean anything, like money. If you're good at poker, you don't ever have to worry about making money. And if you want to get good at poker, if we want to get good at poker, how is that done? These are some of the big questions, but they're not the questions that want to get asked because there's this presupposition that we already understand, and it's very painful to even look at these, I'm using quotation marks here, basic, which they're not basic. You ask a very strong basketball player how they get better, and they work on the fundamentals. They work on footwork. They work on ball handling. They get these things down a million. Like, you go to a dojo, Taekwondo dojo, and what do they teach their students? Their students want to look good compared to other people. They don't give a fuck about their martial value. Not everybody, right? So there are certain dojos that would be geared toward doing these flowery, beautiful kicks and punches that look really cool, that are perceived well by other people but have no martial value. Okay, and then there are other dojos where they're fucking serious motherfuckers and they will kick your fucking ass, because they've only used one punch a million times, and they understand it very deeply. In fact, they might even have an arsenal with multiple punches, but they don't have 57 fucking thousand types of kicks that look like you're fucking dancing or something. Motherfucker, you're fighting, right? But people don't understand why they're doing what they're doing. What is the intention? Right? What is the intention? These are very important steps. A beginner that's starting to play chess, right? Someone that is just playing chess for the first time. He opens a YouTube video. What are the chess opening strategies? And there's a book called The Art of Learning by Josh Waitzkin. I'm taking these two examples from that, and it's a very good book. I learned a lot out of it. I've read it many times. The example that he gave from The Art of Learning was basically that a lot of beginning chess players, they might look on a YouTube video. He didn't say that, but I'm paraphrasing, giving the main principles. They may go and they may find, how do I get better at chess? Look, do a Google search, like most normal people would, I think, at this current time. It depends on the part of the world that we're in. It depends on the society that we're within. But I think that the majority of people have telephones and computers and this sort of thing. So they would go and look at opening strategies. For instance, they would say, wow, these are the best opening moves. How to get better at chess? Well, obviously learn the opening moves. No, of course not. We have to learn the meaning for what even getting into those nodes of the chessboard and getting deeper into the tree means. Because the payoffs, knowing what the meaning and knowing what the value of having certain boards in the end game is very important. We have to actually understand the game from first principles. And what does that mean, understand the game from first principles? So everything about the game we have to question until we cannot question anything else. And we have to start with the most basic assumptions, but it's very painful to the ego of some 20-something-year-old poker player sitting in his room. He's already making a living, for instance. He's actually doing kind of like okay. He can pay his rent, say he's partying, he's doing whatever the fuck he wants to do, but he's winning. Okay, and even if he's not winning, that doesn't matter. Say there's someone that's not winning, but they believe that they will win someday in the future. They have many fantasies, even though that they're currently a loser or break even, they have many fantasies about how they'll be better in the future, even though they're probably doing the same thing that they were right now. And of course, they will certainly improve, but solving the right problems makes that improvement process a fuck of a lot faster. Okay. I've been all these, in fact, I've been a very losing poker player for a very long time. I played 2NL for many, many, many years. I started playing when I was about 12 years old, and I lost a lot. I stole my mom's credit card. I stole money. I fucking tried to gamble. I was really, really obsessed with poker. And then I started taking it a bit more seriously because actually it's a pretty fucking cool thing that we can make a living and I don't have to go work at Pizza Hut because I'm a very ignorant person and I don't think I would do very well in a job. In terms of, certainly I'm not educated. That's one thing. I don't have any sort of certificate that says that I'm educated and then therefore someone can look at it and they can confirm that, well, yeah, this guy went and he sat in a university for 4 years and he's capable and we don't need to babysit him too much. I don't have that. And in fact, I don't think that I would do very well in a job anyways, because I don't particularly like doing things that I don't like doing. I don't do anything that I don't like to do mostly. I do what I want to do. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's absolutely fine. I mean, I don't think that cows particularly want to be born into slaughterhouses and eat grass and then be slaughtered. But this is just a fact. So it's absolutely fine to be working a job that we don't like. There's no problem. I don't mean to say anything negative about that. But getting back on the topic of poker, I'm just trying to create a context for how beautiful this game actually is. The fact that there's no politician out there. There's nothing unfair about the game. There's no one that can make us lose. This blaming mechanism that the human mind has. If we ever have been in study groups and we've heard people say, damn, these people always do this. Damn, this is their fault. Damn, I don't run good. But this is all a game. There's no such thing as running good. Okay? Reality, these are all just little games. These are words, but these words don't have any meaning. There is a hand, and then there is a decision. This is how money is made. And in that hand, we will have a certain expectation. We have no access to know what our expectation is. If we're incredibly stupid and we believe our own thoughts, incredibly ignorant, then we will say, this is my win rate, this is my expectation. No, these things don't exist. This is just a model that we've created in our mind, and we're holding on to it, and we're thinking that we can hold on to it in the next hand because we're feeling maybe we have some negative thoughts about how we're not going to win. And maybe we're having some negative thoughts about how we don't believe that we're good enough. But of course, we can never say that to anybody because we want to be perceived as someone that, no, we don't have to say to anybody. We can lie to everybody. It's perfectly fine. It doesn't matter if we're honest, we're lying. That doesn't mean anything, okay? But we have to be honest with ourselves at least. That's very important. If we want to do well, from this kind of perspective, we're going to be seen as well. We're going to say that we're honest. Actually, being honest does not necessarily serve us because people don't really want honesty. Honesty is often a very painful experience for a lot of people because mostly they just want their current belief structure kind of reaffirmed, not to be challenged. And if someone has a belief, then they don't realize that all beliefs are kind of founded on something that is by definition, not provable, not real. It's just imaginary, by definition. So, for instance, there are Homo sapiens who believe that there is a man in the sky. And I don't mean to say this to deter someone from listening if they have this belief system. But if you feel any pain because you feel, this is very good, right? This is actually very, very, very good practice for poker. Watching this mechanism, which has emotion, say there may be someone that's an atheist that's thinking, oh, that's right. All people that believe in God are wrong. No, see, that's the same mechanism of the atheist that feels like they are no more than someone else. They have compassion for the ignorant. I know more. Is there any empathy that arises for the atheist? Do they feel that for the person that believes in God? Or does the person that believes in God feel like the atheist is stupid and that at least they know more and they should be saved? But then, of course, maybe they frame it in this very loving way where, he just needs compassion. But actually, it's very condescending. And in fact, it's not so nice because if they get challenged, they might be incredibly mean. And they might. These are for instance, there are a lot of religions that they say that they teach love, but their mechanism is basically control and hatred through trying to manipulate you into feeling bad, telling you that you're not good enough. But if you do something in the future, then eventually you might be happy. Looking at looking at man's psychology is the way that we understand ourselves, so how we get better at poker. It's not like mental game, because there's mental game. What does that even mean? If you have the presupposition that mental game and strategy are different, then you don't know anything about poker at all. Of course, there may be people that say that, but they're only talking to a certain people with that current belief. They may even have that belief as well. I don't know. But there's no way you can separate these things. You cannot differentiate mental game between strategic decisions. It's absolutely a ludicrous idea, because the only thing that exists is your actual decisions. And if you think that this operating system, aka your mental game, that is creating your perception of what's good and bad is separate from anything, then you're very delusional, or you don't understand yourself. Again, so there is a lot of this coaching industry that claims this. Let's not say that they're wrong. They're not. There's no right or wrong. They're giving information, and we have no access to their perception. So the brain often likes to think in terms of opposition again and prove a perception right, prove a perception wrong. In fact, I can say the exact opposite. And this would be a very good idea. That mental game is the most important thing, and all these strategic ideas are completely wrong, and they're completely bullshit. Because as long as you're still working with this assumption that your thoughts are not geared toward trying to help you get away from some sort of painful experience like bluffing the river or bluff catching or letting someone bluff you or whatever these painful experiences happen to be, if we're very identified with our thoughts that say, no, this is GTO, this is that, then we don't actually get to the deeper meaning. First of all, meanings are not what comes in our mind. Absolutely not. Certainly the meaning of why we're making something is not coming in. We don't have access to the meaning because the meaning is derived from the totality of our knowledge, and we don't have access to that because it's unconscious. So this admission that we cannot know, first of all, is like number one. If we're delusional enough to say, yes, we think we know, then that's great. That's absolutely fine. And we can certainly make money, and there's no problem. There's nothing wrong with being delusional. In fact, actually being delusional in this society might have some help in terms of the way that our body maneuvers at some level, in terms of maybe getting resources, maybe getting money, if we continue to play this kind of slavery of society game. It's fine. I'm not demeaning that. But certainly what I am saying is that the more honest that we are with ourselves, the more we understand why we make our decisions. If we always start off with this idea that I'm doing something right and we don't question ourselves and we're trying to prove other people wrong, this is very good for politicians. For instance, the reason why politicians go into power for the most part is not because they're intelligent, brilliant people. Intelligent people go into philosophy. Intelligent people go into science. Intelligent people go into art. Intelligent people go into music. Intelligent people go into computer science. Intelligent people... You see my point? Intelligent people go into those pursuits, things that they enjoy. Intelligent people don't try to dominate and control other people and be perceived as good by others. Because intelligent people wouldn't give a fuck. Yes, they might have insecurities because they're conditioned to give a fuck. And intelligence is not about IQ, by the way. When I say intelligence, I should try to define that. A child is very intelligent. A child is absolutely intelligent. And there's nothing that an adult doesn't know that a child knows. An adult is actually more knowledgeable. The problem is that because of the way that the human brain works, it takes this knowledge and it gives the perceiver an illusion that what they're doing is correct at all moments, or what they're doing is incorrect at all moments. There's also another punishing mechanism that goes the other way. But this is still a search for certainty, saying I'm not doing it right now, I'm not doing it right now, but maybe I can improve and be better in the future. Or you could have someone that is just depressed and in a lot of kind of a pain when they're playing poker, especially after you've been doing it for so long, and maybe it's lost a little bit of its thrill, and there's a little bit more financial pressure. This can be challenging as well. Absolutely can be challenging. I have not paid attention to any hands at all. Holy shit. I'm just completely having fun talking. That's a lot of fun to talk. I really enjoy it. It's very fun. So children are absolutely intelligent. And part of the reason why is because when we're having a conversation, there's a word that arises. Say pizza. And say an adult mind, depending on the context in which this is said, the people it's around, the perception of what they're expecting, then we will create some sort of idea model of what the word pizza in this situation is. it's associated with lots of ideas, and these associations are not separate from the context. A child may not have learned this context yet. It depends on how old they are. It depends on how malleable their brain is. It's not really about the IQ or anything. It's really more about the conditionings that they've been put under. Of course, it's very, very painful for the ego of man to understand how deeply conditioned he's been. So he always tries to think that this is simply like he's just a biological machine. This is not under his control. He can't do anything to help himself. No, actually, there's a lot that we can do. But we have to solve the right problems first. And that means that we kind of have to get out of this idea that we know what we're doing, because all knowledge is an illusion. Think about it. I was in a psychology class and the professor proclaimed that XYZ was absolutely bad. And we should never do it, and it's been proven wrong. And I said, what does that word mean, proven wrong? I raised my hand, and I said, she said, well, there's a dictionary definition. I said, no. The dictionary definition is going to give me a combination of words. But I've already created my own meaning for those words, and I've just told you that I don't understand what that means, because the way that you're using it in a very strange way. When Isaac Newton proved the nature of reality, and everybody says, this is our new model because we want certainty, because it causes the human brain pain to understand that it doesn't have the capacity to know, and these are all models to help us live within reality. It's not truth. Truth is simply physical reality. It's not a concept. It's beyond concept. But the eye cannot see the eye, and the mind cannot see the mind. And it's fine. We don't need to become enlightened or become some fucking great thing or anything. None of that shit whatsoever. And it's not shit. It's actually very beautiful stuff. But we don't need to worry about that shit. Not at all. But being honest with ourselves as to why we make poker decisions, where they come from. This is kind of some of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about on this YouTube channel more. And I think that these ideas are very, very... fundamental. Like, I want this information out there for someone. Like, I think that most people are just not going to listen to this, and it will just be too painful. And then, of course, there will be a reason why it's painful, and then they will believe their own thoughts. And often it will come with some sort of superiority or inferiority, self-referential thought about the one that's talking, and then the perceiver, which is always going on inside the brain, right? But then the brain dreams of other people. There are no other people. So this is a dream. There are no other people. There's no way that we can directly access anybody. Let's think about this very logically. When we are around other people, say we might feel pain. Say I am a Christian and I go into a place and these people have different beliefs than me. Say they are some other religion or whatever they are. But they have a different belief that's threatening to my belief. And then maybe I may feel some sort of emotional pain. And my brain may start going crazy, like these people don't like me, they're wrong, they need to believe in God, they don't know what they're talking about, there's something wrong with them. But the brain is not able to understand, like, why are these thoughts coming up? Because it's insecure, because it believes that someone will not like them, something will happen, so it needs to prove the other wrong. So rather than going and trying to, like, fix the outside world and other people, which is what the ego does, but the ego cannot see itself. That's why we have war. That's why we have violence. We're a bunch of, we're just chimpanzees. We're just Homo sapiens. We're just monkeys. We're not like some like man of God or something. Not at all. Because this presupposition that we are not good enough, but one day in the future when we die, we'll be like one with God or whatever. It's all bullshit. We will, of course. Okay, but only from one perspective. Only from the perspective that God is a pointer to the totality of existence. God is not some like man in the sky that's going to make you feel better one day. No, you are God. Everybody is God. But it's very painful when you get trained in this kind of society that is very hierarchical. So it says that these people with these certificates are allowed to speak. But if you work at McDonald's or if you work at 7-Eleven or you work at Pizza Hut, you're not allowed to give your opinion. And if you ever speak, we're going to tell you that you're not good enough. We're going to shun your opinion. We're going to tell you that you're not allowed to talk. This is a very, very, very hypocritical society. Absolutely disgusting and sick. Of course, Americans will say, I'm American and everybody else is bad. We're going to bomb the shit out of you. We're going to look for resources. Okay. We're going to believe that America is better. But actually, if we were born in another country, then we would think America is bad. There's no like better or worse. These are all just things that are happening. And then the mind creates ideas. This poker player is better than this poker player. People, rather than necessarily studying about actual strategy and trying to get better, they're more interested in drama in the poker community and news. But no people exist except for us that we can directly access. How can we know something? So someone can study about trees for 50 years, but he can never know a tree because he's not a tree. All that he can gather is information, ideas about trees, and then he creates a model of what a tree is. The problem is that the brain in the first separated state of dreaming, which is basically where the majority of people are. I mean, some people are at a different tier where they believe in God, which is not like better or worse tier. It's not. I don't think that was a very poor use of the word tier. Forgive me. Excuse me. I should rephrase that. There are different types of dreams. And yes, there's someone that doesn't really realize that this entire world is a dream world. Like someone say they might like be spiritual. They might know on some level that reality is deeper than their current experience. Then you might have someone that just thinks that everything they're told, good, bad, is correct. I mean, I don't really understand that. I don't have that capacity to understand it because it's not me, but it makes sense. Then there are other tiers where basically man realizes that his entire experience is happening in his brain, and when he sees a tree, it's a projected tree. It's not like he's actually seeing the tree is a projection of his mind. Experience is happening within him. And that's how we start to make better poker decisions, when we realize that all of our beliefs about this objective, true knowledge that we're comparing our understanding right now to, we're on this turn in a check raise spot, and we compare it to a model of GTO solver, or whatever the fuck it is, Pio solver. And then we compare it to another model of some hand reading thing, right? Hey boy, oh, who's a good boy? Sorry, see my beautiful little cat. Wow, you're so beautiful, buddy. Hey, Minnie. Yes, he's a Jello boy, huh? Yeah, he's a big Jello boy. Then we compare it to the totality of our knowledge, right? Or what we think it is. We compare it to this model that we have, compared to what GTO is, believing that GTO is something outside of us, without realizing, because there may be an imagination or an image of what PioSolver said 3 weeks ago. But we're not using PioSolver right now. We're playing a fucking hand on our computer. We're not using Pio, right? So given that's the case, we don't have access to Pio. We only have access to our brain. This shift in understanding where our knowledge comes from, that everybody is absolutely intelligent. There's nobody that's stupid. All humans are absolutely intelligent, and all humans have the capacity to be good at poker. There's this idea that someone can't be good at poker. That's bullshit. If you've got like 90 IQ or above, you can definitely make $1,000 or $2,000 a month if you have the ability to study and the ability to question yourself. And a situation where, like, you know, you have like food, resources, internet, computer, something like that. I don't know what the life situation is. I cannot comment on that, but I can certainly say in terms of IQ, absolutely anybody could get good at poker if they wanted to. If they wanted to. Good enough to win. Because remember, the people that are losing at poker are not even studying. Especially at lower stakes. So there is actually a decent amount of money to be made. But it involves like asking the right questions. It doesn't involve just going to GTO Wizard or PioSolver and just doing whatever the fuck we want, because we have a thought that arises from, say, a training video that we watched, from someone saying words that PioSolver would do this, and then we've collected this belief, and then we believe in our own thought. And because we currently believe that, cat, do not eat that dead bird. Minnie, that is fucking smelling. No, boy, you're so cute. Minnie, do not eat that pigeon. I think he killed a pigeon. But, yes. I think he killed a pigeon and now he's trying to fucking smell it. I don't know if that can give him diseases. I should throw it away, but I'm a little bit scared of touching it. See, this is the same fear in poker. See, I'm scared to touch it. Why would I be scared to touch a dead pigeon? Because it gives me images of what if someone sees that I'm touching a dead pigeon and then they think I'm not good enough? Or what if someone sees that I'm smelling this horrible thing? And because I cannot see reality. Because I always see the meaning of that relative to other people, relative to other poker players, relative to other people's perceptions. Everything is absolutely connected. That's why a child is completely intelligent. Because their brain is hyper-connected, because they have not created these associations, these meanings. Minnie, watch out, little boy. Come on, boy. Watch out, Minnie. Yeah, boy. Okay, there you go, boy. Yeah. So anyways, I think I will stop for now. I will continue to talk about this, and I would like to go into like particular concepts, and I would also like to teach game theory as well. Like from a more like practical perspective of how we actually like why we bet. Where does betting come from? Anybody can just say we bet because, and then they can say some words. But those words are not the reason why. The reason why is not with that something that can be contained in words, because their understanding is happening within their fucking brain, and the brain is absolutely the most magnificent biological computer that you could think of, far beyond the capacity of any computers that we have. Because we have this thing called the imagination. I'm not saying that we will have computers in the future that won't exceed the human mind. I absolutely think that we will. But currently, this is an interesting spot. Yeah, currently, the computers are not as good as our brains. Not at all. Interesting spot here. Force. See, yeah, okay. I could kind of do a couple things here. There's so many options. But the brain often sees this, and then it will say, for instance, this is a very good example. The brain will see pocket fours, and it might automatically shoot out, this is correct. But the thing is, this is correct is only coming from previous ideas about what is right and wrong. And these things are not real. The truth is that all of the payoffs are in the leaves of the tree, which I say like the biggest payoffs might be in the river leaves. Then there are other leaves where they fold before the river, I fold before the river, and then that's where the payoff is. And then the frequency times the payoff of the hand that we have, and that will come from, how they play their hands. This is reality. The reality is not just I have pocket fours and I'm going to do whatever the fuck I memorized to do. And it's fine to do that every single time because it can be incredibly obvious as to how we're playing if we're playing against opposition who can adjust. But people are way paranoid and people mostly only think about themselves and don't go deep enough. At least at the lower stakes. At least like 400, 600, 1,000, 100 mid stakes. It doesn't happen. But we'll see. We'll see exactly how these games work. And we'll talk about all the details. And actually, any questions would be very, very deeply appreciated because it's much easier for me to talk from the perspective of answering a question than kind of... I would have to think about what the actual problems are of the person that's listening. And then... Or I can talk about my own problems, which might actually be more productive and certainly more fun for me at some level. But yes. Okay, everybody, you all have a lovely evening. I love you all very much. And goodbye.